6:05 as we head on down the road. Last hour of the show tonight. Time for our first partners, our business segment, trying to teach people how to get it done in this crazy environment that we find ourselves in. And I'm excited about our guest tonight, Tracy Smith. I've worked with her on and off over the last, particularly the last several months. And Tracy does some stuff that I used to do, so I can't wait to pick her brain. She is with Tracy, Bennett, Smith Consulting.
Right.
And you do PR.
Absolutely. Business consulting, but we mainly focus on public relations.
And, you know, a lot of folks don't even understand what public relations
They
is.
don't.
Because I used to tell people, yeah, I got a PR business. I do PR. And everybody just thinks that's mouthpiece stuff. But really,
They do.
what would you call it?
Even
Tracy?
my kids, they're like, I don't really know what my mom does.
It's kind of, yeah, they check out after that first sentence.
Yeah. And it is because people define PR in so many different ways, but it's basically communications. And
Yeah.
what we do is we work with nonprofits and small businesses and companies in general about their communications. So public relations, if you ask what the PRSA, the Public Relations Society of America, how they formally define it, is public relations is a strategic communication process that builds mutually beneficial relationships between organizations.
Boy, that's long. That's way too long. Yeah.
It's basically communications. It can be internal, external, verbal, nonverbal, all of those things, and how you communicate. So for small businesses, which is what we're talking about, it's how you communicate, who you communicate to, and what you communicate.
Because there's so many different sides of this. There's regular old marketing, and that's doing
Right.
ads and doing things that you pay for. But PR can sometimes can be done for free. You can kind of earn the publicity.
It absolutely can. And so we always recommend, depending on what industry you're in, there should be a blend of both primarily. But public relations, what you want to do, and we are really honest with the businesses that we represent. You need to make sure what you're doing and the topic that you want to approach the media about is newsworthy.
Sure.
Because you
got to give them a hook.
Yeah, you do not want to waste their time. They are overworked, they're busy, they have tight deadlines, and so you may think it's newsworthy, but it may not be. So going back to what the public is, you need to identify your public, what your audience is,
Who you're trying to reach.
Who you're trying to reach, maybe your customers, potential customers. It may be the media, maybe the government, it may be general public, whatever it is, and then you craft a strategy around that. And so I know we could get knee deep in all that, and I know we don't have enough time, so I know what we wanted to talk about tonight is media relations. And so say you have a topic that is intriguing, say you're expanding your store or whatever, how do you approach the media? What do you say? What do you do?
You're doing a ribbon cutting, or you're trying to
Right.
get a little publicity for some new, because the media will come out and cover
They
your
will.
business
Absolutely.
if they've got a hook around it. If there's a
Exactly.
real news reason. If what you're doing, I just saw one today where they were opening a new Publix and somewhere in the state.
Yeah.
And it was getting tweeted out by everybody because that's a
Absolutely.
big deal to the community that they were opening it.
It
in.
is, and that's the other thing that what businesses need to recognize. It's not just about you selling a widget or adding a new store, but you need to think about it as a bigger picture. What are you doing in that community? Are you adding jobs? Are
Yeah.
you impacting the economic development in that area? Are you helping revitalize the area? Those are all greater stories than just that opening. And so you need to think that way for the reporter and provide the resource. You need to be the resource to provide content for that reporter.
And you need to know which reporter to go to. I mean,
Absolutely.
because when you're dealing with newspaper outlets, they've got departments, they got different people. You
They
can't
do.
always expect it to get assigned. You know, a lot of times you would go through somebody that's going to assign it. But if you know a reporter that needs something for their beat, go to them.
That's exactly, and you need to do your homework. You're right. You need to find out who covers those topics. Don't go to a sports reporter if you're pitching a business topic.
Yeah.
And all you're going to do is frustrate them and make them mad and clog up their inbox or their voicemail box. So you need to make sure who you're approaching, it's newsworthy content to them, and it's a topic or a beat that they cover.
There's an example, I think, Tracy, in the news today. There's a new music venue downtown near Workplay.
Right.
Iron City
Right.
is the name of it. Now, I haven't had a
Cool
chance
place.
to go in there yet. A buddy of mine was just playing Workplay last weekend, so I was down in that area. But it's cool that they're building some synergy down there with all this stuff.
Absolutely.
But they were able to get a major piece in the paper today that talked about the good and the bad of what they're doing. They were willing to throw all that out there. And I read that and thought, wow, some of that could be negative because it's a brand new business and they're talking about some mistakes they've made. But I thought it was smart because somebody was advising them to, people feel like they connect to what the experience they're going to have in this business now because they understand the challenges
That's right.
of making it work. And people that want to make that work are now invested having read that story and going in there when they see a concert.
And that's a great point. And they probably either have a PR person that they've outsourced, somebody like me, or they have designated someone within their company to say, you are the point person. And they do a lot of legwork ahead of time, because what the media appreciates is if you do that, if you lay out the good, the bad, and the ugly, and you go ahead and own it, and you have those questions and you have those answers, and you give it to them ahead of time, and you do the legwork for them, because a lot of times, as you know, in your previous life, you're running on very short deadlines.
Sure.
Sometimes they have a little time, sometimes they don't. But if you can provide them all that information up front and make their job easier, that relationship will build, and then you become a resource for them. So not just that story, but future stories for your industry they may lean on you for.
I used to teach people this: spoon feed the media.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
this is why, like you said, they've got deadlines, they got fewer resources than they've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a trust between you and them, if you don't burn them, you don't lie to them, you don't mislead them, they'll turn around and repeat everything you need them to put in their story.
You're right.
Because they need to fill a deadline that day.
Yep.
They need to get done and go home.
And you remember, that's exactly right. And you remember back in the day, they would all have their specific beats. There
Sure.
would be a health reporter.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still like that a little bit, but it's changed, hasn't it? They wear many hats. They cover a lot of, sometimes they don't know what they're going to cover that day. And so they are running like crazy. And if you can make their job easier and you help them with that messaging and make their job easier and provide that content, they're going to come back to you as a source.
Now, I know you probably don't want to go too far into this, but there's a whole nother side to your business, and that's dealing with something goes wrong.
Yeah.
There's a crisis PR. We see that in the news every day where
Yeah.
somebody their business gets in trouble or somebody gets dinged, and you got to be open and honest with the media in that circumstance. So the next time you need something, when I was working politics doing that kind of work, it was all negative. I mean, you don't
were
get,
always in crisis
you're like
management mode.
You're like an offensive lineman in football. You don't want your name called unless something. The only time they call your names when you get a penalty, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And so you do a lot of that defensive type work, but your relationships do pay off in that circumstance, because they got to trust that you're being honest with them in a bad moment.
Yep. And what you need to do is be proactive and go ahead and go through that process. Go ahead and have a crisis management policy and a process. And when I ran nonprofits in my previous life, and we always did that with our board, and we sat down and we figured out, what if this happened? What if this happened? I was the CEO of Kid One. What if we had a wreck? What would we do? First of all, we want to take care of the children and make sure they're secure, but what are the other steps we need to do? And we would go ahead and be proactive with a potential crisis management case and be ready and prepared, because the last thing you want to say is no comment.
You just made me think of the BP oil spill, and I watched that operation. I went down there and covered it for a week, knew some people that went down to work. You talk about a disaster, an international disaster, an environmental disaster. But I got to say, they probably handled the PR on that as well as you could, considering what happened. I mean, they were in the community. They were out there all the time. They were throwing money at everything. They were everywhere, and I think came out on the other side of that much better than they could have.
I think they did. In the middle of it, of course, they were criticized just because that's the way it is. But looking back on it, hindsight, you look at it and say they actually did probably as best as you possibly could with a crisis situation in terms of their messaging and what they did for the community.
And that's not to say that they didn't have some negligence or maybe weren't guilty in some areas or did everything right. But that was probably a $1 billion PR effort in the end, considering the money that the government sort of extorted, out of them, and the big lawsuits and everything else. So you've got two sides to that business, and if you're in business, I would say, Tracy, you're going to deal with one or the other over the long haul.
Eventually, that's right. And so what we always say is identify. It may be the owner of the business, or it may be an employee that has really good communication skills, or you may outsource to independent contractor like myself. But somebody needs to take that as their responsibility. Most small businesses don't need a PR or a marketing person full time, unless marketing with their sales and things. But so usually a small business will have someone that does that in addition to other things.
Sure.
When I first got into it, I was the human resources director and marketing and PR. So, most people will wear many hats, but you need to at least have someone that is focusing on that at some point in their job and devoting some time to crisis management preparation and messaging. And again, with small businesses, you're not going to be in the media all the time, but a few times a year, you probably have an opportunity to tell your story or have some provocative story that you want to share. And that person needs to be the person person that has their finger on the pulse within your organization.
Is it always necessary you have somebody on staff? Because you're a consultant. I mean, you can outsource that when you need it as well.
Exactly, on a project basis. And
Right.
so that's what a lot of small businesses do, because they honestly don't need something like that full time. Now, some do, because they do internal, external, and they do all their communications and they can justify it. But the majority of them, it could either be a shared responsibility internally or outsourced.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You know, social media is changing all this. Everything's moving so fast with Twitter and Facebook, and y'all have got you're helping Bethany, who's usually in here with us on Thursday as well, put together a pretty cool event over in Irondale that we've been telling folks about.
Yes.
Too.
Bethany's a colleague of mine, and we do a lot of client sharing, and so she handles a lot of marketing. I handle PR, and we team up with each other. And so one of the things we're doing are some continuous small business resources that are free to small businesses in the area. And that's the big thing we want to make sure through First Partners Bank is that we get these resources out to these businesses that may not necessarily have a budget to retain someone to bring in to do them, but to have that knowledge for them to help them grow their business. And the next one is social media, and it's just critical for everybody. I don't care what kind of business you are in.
No matter how big or small, you got to
Right.
keep up because it's changing all the time.
It is.
And the tactics for using it or not overusing it are, we struggle with it in this business all the
Exactly.
time. Do you tweet every 5 minutes or do you lay off till you really have some?
That's exactly.
And it's a struggle.
It is, and I can tell you. I mean, and I'm probably, you and I are similar in age, and so
Yeah.
I know we're kind of old school on some of that, because the tweeting, you can get inundated, and not every business needs to tweet.
Some people overdo that. Don't you
They
think?
absolutely do. They do, even with Facebook posts. And if you're going to do it, there needs to be a strategy to it, and there needs to be. You don't need to inundate it, because again, you're going to get tired. I mean, I see tweets with businesses a lot, and they won't tweet one a week or one every other day. You can tell they sit down at the computer and they tweet 10 comments all at the same time. Well, I
Put them all out.
yeah, boom, 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 and you just click right through them. And so there's got to be a strategy to it.
Well, the seminar that y'all are doing is brought to you by our friends at First Partners Bank. They're partners of ours. And what I love about First Partners is they do all this stuff for free. They present this segment to help people with business education. They present these workshops. This is more of a one-on-one deal where you're really going to get some good instruction. There's a meal involved if you want to be involved. I like it that it's during lunch too.
Yes.
It's part of your business day. You take a little time off, go over there at lunch, learn some stuff in Irondale, and look for the next one when they do
And
it.
get educated. That's right. And this one is a very basic 101. So it's someone that may dabble in social media a little bit or doesn't at all, and it'll walk you through the steps of how to set up a Facebook page, how to set up a Twitter, the different resources like Hootsuite, things that you can do to manage your social media. So it is a basic 101, and we've done it a number of times, and we've had wonderful response. Yeah.
Well, while we're talking about it, let me give some numbers because I get banged on by our listeners because every time Bethany leaves, they're calling me going, where is it? What's the number? How do you sign up? So here it is. It's 205. You can call Michelle at 205-951-1415, 1415, 951-1415 if you want to sign up for it. And it's free, I think. Is there a charge for lunch, or you can
There's
bring
not-
your own?
There's not, and First Partners is going to sponsor the lunch up to
good.
a certain amount. So the first people that RSVP, the better. And
So
then,
you get a lunch out of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then if we max out on that, you can still bring your lunch, but hopefully we can.
And it's
cover all
at
that.
11:30. It's over in Irondale at the public library. Easy to find. It's on the 29th, toward the end of the month, so you got a few days to figure it out. 11:30 to 1. So they'll be in it. You guys are in there, out of there, and done. Everybody's back to work.
And we stick to that schedule because we recognize they got to get back and run their businesses. So
Yeah.
we're out of there by 1.
I like what you said about being strategic with it, because some people just don't know how to do that. Like we just said, they know how to sign up and put their name on there, and then boom, it's
And then
just chaos. Or it sits in the corner and they don't ever use
That's
it
what I was going to
again.
say. It's one of the other, they either don't touch it or they touch it too much.
They don't know what to do with it. Yeah. All right, we're going to take a little short break. We'll come back. Tracy Bennett Smith hanging out with us tonight, talking a little bit about media relations, PR, all that good fun stuff. You CB truckers out there, y'all need some PR? Tracy
saw
and I were talking about CBs. She's as old as I am, AJ. She remembers.
Yep. And what I remember is eastbound and down. Load
Don't
them
you?
up and truck 'em.
She remembers the big antenna. You remember the huge antennas in the back of the car?
And what did we say? Was it the Union 76?
Yeah, you put the little gas station had the Union 76 would have a little ball. You'd stick. You remember that, AJ?
I
Stick it on
remember.
Yeah.
Stick it on the antenna. 620. Back in a minute.
Leland Live on Superstation 101.
My name is Elam Holly, and I am the CEO of First Partners Bank, member FDIC. While some might think it's unusual for a bank to step outside the box and provide resources for business owners, we believe that being a great bank is just the beginning. We want to be your banking partner in life and in business, for now and the journey ahead. Because your story is our story. Our success is tied to yours. We call it partnership banking, and it's the core of our mission. In fact, at First Partners Bank, we have developed an entire program of resources designed to help small business owners grow and succeed. They include the Tools for Success blog, the Small Business Workshop series, Tools for Success magazine, and of course the Tools for Success radio program. Each of our Tools for Success initiatives are free and available to every business owner in the community, whether or not they're a customer of First Partners Bank. We've even set up a special website just for Tools for Success at yousucceed-wesucceed.com, where you can learn more about all the resources available for business owners. While you're there, you can subscribe to the blog, check the schedule for our next workshop learning event, browse through the virtual copy of the latest issue of the magazine, or listen to a podcast of the radio program. We are bankers, but first and foremost, we are partners. Partners with our customers, partners with our community. Our philosophy, our mission, our purpose is simple. When you succeed, we succeed. Call us today at 205-822-5500 and let us show you what partnership banking is all about.
You got something to say? Dial us up, 941-1011, or toll free, 1-866-551-9933. Oh yeah, mind your manners and no cussing. Superstation 101.
Welcome back into the show, 622 Leland Live, Superstation 101. First Partners Bank bringing us a little business education. We do this on Thursday nights to help you out. A lot of people out there are entrepreneurs, networkers. Either you don't own the business, you're in the business, you want to improve. And First Partners Bank is so generous to provide all this education. They've got a magazine called Tools for Success. They do these seminars. And they present this segment on Thursday nights for you. Tracy Bennett Smith, public relations expert extraordinaire, in here with me tonight, just talking it through about dealing with that kind of thing. And we just had a funny, Tracy. I just got a text from one of our own staffers. She goes, "When's the symposium? And can I go?" I was like, "Yeah, you can go. It'd be great." And I got to text that back to her. But if she's still listening, it's on October 29th at 11 o'clock over in Irondale.
Right. Mm-hmm. And what we try to do with those seminars is we try to host them and partner with libraries and host them there because people are used to going there.
Yeah.
And so those work out great. So this will be our first one in Irondale. We've had them in Homewood, Hoover, Vestavia, that sort of thing. So now we're in Irondale.
You know, I go back to one of the first ones that I remember y'all doing. Mm-hmm. Y'all got me to help MC it, and it was right after the election, and you got all these small business people, and the certainty that was in the room that night was that Obamacare is coming now.
Yep.
Because he had just won election, and it wasn't going away. And I think people were kind of working through their business cycle going, well, we'll wait till after the election to decide what to do. And I've never seen so many deer in the headlights small business people in my life. Am I wrong about that?
You were right. And that was all the questions pretty much predominantly focused on that, don't you think?
Yeah.
I mean, we spent the night talking about
and
that.
I felt so negative because we kept going. I thought, I know I'm the right-wing talk show host guy, but this is really a legitimate issue.
It is.
And the thing that just developed that night was almost everything that the concern and the questions that we were worried about has starting to manifest now. It's been about a year later.
We may need to have another one because now they're bubbling up and now they're actually seeing it firsthand, how it's affecting them.
And we're closer to having answers for people.
Right. Because it was a deer in the headlight situation. You're right. And they were concerned and worried and bombarded with questions. And we were able to tackle them, but so much was unknown then. And so still so much is, but we know a little more to where we probably could do another one like that and just bring it back around to say, okay, where are we now?
And
there'll
how
be a
to
whole
advance it.
Yes, and there'll probably be a whole new slew of questions.
And I think PR plays into this because you've got companies out there everywhere that are having to make some tough decisions right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're having to put out statements that we're going to do these layoffs, or we're going to make these changes, or we're going to drop these policies, or we're going to drop spouses. And that's not an easy thing for a company to communicate.
It's not, and that goes back to what actually is public relations, and that's a lot of internal relations. And how are you communicating that with your employees, and how are you making sure that you keep that momentum and that camaraderie in place while you're making all of these changes, and with your public as well. So that's some internal and external PR that they really need to focus on, and a little bit of crisis management.
Yeah, it folds a lot of things into one kind of ongoing story. I guess there's misery in company with that particular story because a lot of other companies are dealing with it. You're not the bad guy company because you're having to make tough decisions.
No, and everybody can relate to it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's rough stuff.
So that's another topic that Bethany and I probably ought to talk about. We could talk about crisis management and internal relations for small businesses and external. That may be a topic that we ought to host sometime as well.
And I would think, and I'm just guessing here, if I were a business reporter looking for business stories right now, and somebody out there is listening, and the company you work for or the company you own has something good going on, they're almost looking for rays of sunshine right now.
They are, and that's I'm glad you brought that up, because not a lot of times what we do with businesses, and again, they don't think about it because they're working on their business and operating their business, but there are wonderful success stories within the business. It may not even have anything to do with their business. It may be that their employees are doing something to make a difference for a nonprofit, or there may be a great feel-good story about an employee. The media loves human interest story, and so do listeners and viewers and all of those sorts of things. And so small businesses can think about, or businesses in general, or nonprofits, can think about within their four walls what is going on that is a positive story, because we're all so tired of the negative stories.
People are just beat down emotionally with this stuff.
And the reporters are. They're looking for those good feel good stories. So
look at your organization and don't take for granted where you've had some success or you did a major charitable thing, because it's inspiring, and I hope some of these conversations on Thursdays are too. It's inspiring to other people that are in business to hear about that.
Exactly, and they want to hear about it, and that gives them ideas and suggestions and things as well. So they want to hear about it, and they want to see what other industries and what other business owners in the community are doing that they could take with them and copy within their and integrate within their organization.
Back to the seminar that's coming up too. What will you cover? You got, obviously we know about Facebook and Twitter, but there are other little things out there now, LinkedIn, and Bethany was telling me about something I don't even know. I don't even understand Pinterest. I don't even know what that is.
And Pinterest is really neat, and especially it's really neat for retailers and if you're selling stuff.
Wow. I mean, it's just like a marketplace or something? How does that work?
It is, and I bet your wife knows about Pinterest.
Probably. She knows a lot of stuff I don't know.
It's basically like a magazine. And so, but what is cooler about it is I don't want to get too deep in it, but you can create, you search for different things that you are interested in, and you can save them on your board. It's like a big bulletin board where you save things. Well, a lot of retailers are out there and they're posting cool outfits or a leather belt or neat jewelry.
So you browse.
So I love turquoise jewelry. So I'll go in there and I'll see a cool turquoise ring I want, where I'll pin it and I'll save it, and all the people that follow me see that. I can buy it usually. It link jumps back to their website so you can order it. So it's almost like flipping through a magazine.
So even if you've got a small retail establishment, you've just expanded yourself by getting in. That's a marketplace.
It is, and we have case studies of retailers that have gone on there and they seriously have grown 300% or 400% in their sales.
Well,
incredible.
And you'll tell folks all about it. Let's go back through the deets on that seminar again. It is Irondale Public Library.
Yes, October
29th.
Yep, and it's at lunch,
11:30.
And you need to RSVP. You don't have to RSVP, but if you RSVP, you will have a lunch secured for you, and it's all free.
And you let people brown bag too. I like that too.
Let people brown bag, and the best thing to do is go on Facebook and to First Partners Bank page, like their page, and you can keep up with the events that's going on.
So First Partners Bank, look, we can't say enough about them. They're sponsoring all this stuff. We appreciate them. Back here in just a minute. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
At First Partners Bank, our passion is for helping your business thrive. As our customers go about the business of building their successes, we're working right alongside them, because when they dream, we dream. Part of being successful in business is knowing when opportunity is knocking. When the former owner of South Central Steel began dropping hints that he wanted to retire and sell the company, then employee Andy Schroeder recognized a chance to be his own boss and purchased the company in December 2012. Knowing he was going to need a banking partner to help navigate the purchase, Andy called First Partners Bank. He says, the experience at First Partners Bank was personal. Their team was intimately involved with every step of the process. As a customer of First Partners Bank, you enjoy the privileges of our partnership banking philosophy. What's more, First Partners Bank has the business banking solutions specifically designed to save your business time and money. Discover what it means to have a banking partner, because when you succeed, we succeed. Call us today at 205-822-5500 or visit our website at firstpartnersbank.com. First Partners Bank, member FDIC.